Yo, okay, this video is really going to be geared towards my younger self. I feel like when I was younger, growing up, I always thought about how I wanted to be like the best, or I wanted to be famous, or I wanted to be very well known for how good I was at basketball, or become really rich, and so then everyone knows how rich I am. Which now, looking back at it, is pretty funny, because I've now come to the conclusion that I actually don't want to be any of that, and I'd actually not like to. And it's kind of the concept of, I feel like nowadays there's a lot of like that hustle culture and to grind to be the best at what you do, and so everyone knows it and etc. Which is fine and all, but I've started approaching it, instead of wanting to be the best at like what I do and be really well known, is just like I just want to be consistent with what I do, and I just want to do like live my life and not live my life to, you know, accomplish others' goals, or, you know, achieve expectations that others have. It's literally just do what I want to do. So instead of like grinding all day to build a startup and get funding and be a founder, etc., for the reason of getting all the publicity and the kind of the status of being a founder, it would be chasing, I guess I haven't phrased this very well. Instead of like trying to build a 100 million business, I'd be a lot more attracted to just building a $10 million business. Instead of chasing to, you know, have the best style and everyone like my Instagram, it's just wear whatever I want to wear. Except that's kind of a silly example. But I think like what I'm trying to say here is that so many people are always trying to like push and push and push so they can be the best and be the most well known. And like, you don't need to be the best, but what you need to be is like consistent. So it's like, you might not have the highest of the highs, but you're not going to have as low of the lows, because you're just consistent. So if that's, you know, in the pursuit of happiness, you're just like consistently doing things that make you happy. And some days you're going to do them, some days you're not, but the baseline is that you're going to do it, right? Because you're consistent. And I think nowadays there's so much pressure, and I've definitely fed into this in the past 4 years at school. This is what I did. It was just like, just work, wake up 5:30, work out, go to work all day, come home, do the same thing. And part of that is kind of fun, but realistically that's just not sustainable. And even if that leads to a lot of success, then you're going to get to that success and you're going to have nothing to do with it, right? If you just work all day and grind all day, and then you build a unicorn and you sell it and now you're a cajillionaire, then you're going to have all this money, but the past 30 years you've just been working every day all day, and you're not going to know what to do with that money. And then you're just going to end up going back and doing the same thing. So then it's like, okay, so the end goal, like if I get to the end goal, I'm just going to move that goalpost farther and keep pushing. And if you look at that logically, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, compared to not just chasing that big spotlight, but just being consistently. It's almost like being consistent. I don't want to say consistently average, because I feel like the average life is not a life that I personally would want to live, but it's just like consistently above average is what we'll say. And then you're just constantly depositing into that like piggy bank of the life you want to live, instead of trying to, it's like a good metaphor for this, or analogy for this, for like finance people. Instead of like trying to hit the big bet on buying, like on day trading, it's just like putting cash in your Roth IRA. And then by the time you're 50 or 60, it's a lot of money. And so it's the same thing with life. It's like, instead of always trying to like swing for the home run, it's just like, just try to get to the first base. And I think for me, this happens a lot. Is like literally every day I wake up and I like have this notebook, and I almost feel like pressure for myself to write down like business ideas. And I'm like constantly not thinking I'm doing enough, and constantly thinking about like, what is next? What else could I be doing? What little like startup could I start, or side hustle could I start to get me experience so that I can go on to this next thing? And But then I've kind of just been like, reflecting on the past couple of days, and it's like, okay, so if I do that, then it's just, then I'm going to be asking, okay, what's the next thing? Or I'm constantly going to not feel like I'm doing enough, even if I'm doing more than what I'm currently doing, right? So it's like this like goalpost or this like end zone that you're never going to get to if that's your mindset, compared to if, and what I'm trying to get to is if my mindset is I want to live a life where I have control over my schedule. Well, I could have control over my schedule with a lot of money, but I could also probably have a lot of control over my schedule with not a lot of money. A lot of people in my life, they don't have a lot of money, but they live a very free life. But so if that's my goal, and I'm constantly pushing and working towards that, then it's not like this thing that's going to keep getting extended, because then once I have control over my schedule, no matter what I'm doing, then I've accomplished my goal. Comparatively, if my goal is to become a founder, which part of me still, that is my goal, and I've had that for a while, and then I'm going to grind super hard and I'm going to found something, have success, and then I'm just going to have that same itch and want to found something again and just keep doing this repetitive cycle, which just doesn't seem like the smartest way to approach it. So like the message to myself here is to not like just push for the flashiest things, or not always go for the home runs, but really just like focus on those daily deposits into like the long-term life you want to live, and becoming okay with not always being the best at everything you do. I think that's something I struggle with, like at work right now. Like if someone does something better than me, or if I don't do something the best, I'm like, fuck, I wasn't the best at it. But that some things just aren't worth your energy to become the best at it. But it's being consistent, consistently showing up, or consistently depositing in that life you want, is really important. I feel like this didn't make a whole lot of sense, kind of rambling, but that's the key point here, is to like, don't just focus on like the big flashy things all the time that you see on social media. Like you only have one life, right? And you just need to live it, right? You just need to live it one day at a time. And the culture around like pushing yourself to get to be the best and have that big home run, you're gonna get that home run and you're gonna feel the same you are right now. And then you're just gonna have that void that you're gonna need to fill again. And it's gonna be this never-ending cycle, comparatively to what I've just been talking about the past 8 minutes, repeating myself, but comparing to just going for the things that aren't gonna just like burn you out. I don't know if that made sense. I'm gonna post this, but I think the takeaway here is maybe to spend a little bit more time about what I want to talk about. But it's the truth, speaking facts here.